Thank you, Esther. Thank you for hosting us. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you, Janet. And thank you for all of you for actually showing up on a rainy day, despite all the things that are going on in the world. So I just wanted to start by saying that a new book, and this is celebrating, we're here to celebrate a new book. It's a joyous occasion. And this one is too. But I'd like to remember that I actually had a partner in crime on this book, Justice Ginsburg. And I know she would have loved to be here with us. And she would love being up here, and she would love being at this beautiful party. I think she would have gotten lots of energy and joy from being here. And she would have been so happy that the stories of these women who she really cared about are in this book. And I hope she would have been happy with the book. And she saw the book. What? I think so. I think so. And I think this would have given her joy and energy and hope for the future. So at the end, I know we're going to do a little toast. We're going to do a little toast in her memory. Meanwhile, I want to introduce my friend Ann Lewis, who I think all of you know, who was someone who really pitched in helping me with this book, which was a journey that I never expected to take. And she was a great companion on the way. So thank you so much. And
been my pleasure.
And she has an amazing suffragist collection. So she really knows quite a bit about a number of these women. And she made us include at least one of them so that we had forgotten. So over to you.
Well, Nadine, thank you. Yes. And Esther, thank you so much. Anytime we get to come to your beautiful home is a pleasure. And this is kind of a special evening with the book, with Nadine, and with so many good friends. And the rain, yes, which is going to make your garden even more beautiful. So, yes, happy to have you all. And when I think about a book that celebrates women and their accomplishments, I think about you as the perfect host for all you've done. So thank you. So now, as Nadine has begun to tell us, she did have, shall we say, a partner, an instigator, a disciplinarian in getting this book underway. So I want to talk about that and say first, as I've heard from you, Nadine, this book really begins with a conversation. You are talking to Justice Ginsburg.
Well, we had honored her in New York, and she had given a speech, although she wasn't supposed to give a speech. That was why we brought Nina in to interview her, but she decided to give a speech anyways, and it was about some of her favorite women. And so she said, come to my chambers afterwards. So a few weeks later, I showed up, and we were just talking about how Jewish women in particular were so important to her, and role models were so important to her. And then I chimed in with, well, you know, I was a kid, and I was 10 and 11 and 12, and I read every biography in my school library, and there were only, out of 350, there were 10 women. Amelia Earhart, Madame Curie, Clara Barton, Molly Pitcher, Louisa May Alcott. I could think of the other 6 pretty soon. And so I said what I say often, I probably say this once a week. Wow, that would be a great book. What a great book that would be. We should write a book. And she said, yes. And so there that was. We were writing a book. And so we started thinking about like who should be in the book. And she just kept saying, this woman and that woman and this woman. We made a list of 150 women to be in this book. Now, somehow I knew we couldn't. Go ahead.
No, you just at least get us past the 150, because I'm pretty sure looking at that book that you got it down somewhere.
Well, I decided 36 would be enough. And, but as you can see, it's 33. A few women came out, and which are a story in itself. But even when we decided on the 36 women, she kept sending me emails faster than I could answer them. How about adding Nadine Gordimer? How about adding this woman? How about adding that woman? So it was just like she had so many women in her mind that she wanted to include. So we couldn't include them all. And I also added some women because all of her women would have been lawyers, writers, and musicians or from the Bible. And there are other women who have done amazing things in the world, and I wanted to have a little more diversity. So we decided, she approved the other women that they could be also in the book.
Well, first, I know what you mean about role models and how growing up, how hard it was to find women who were doing things. I mean, I remember being excited. There was a movie about a woman pirate, and I watched it and cheered because at least she was doing something.
Really?
And not just standing and saying, ooh, right? But yes, so you get to your 150, get back down. And on that list, there are some that you already knew, as you told me. You've some that I said, as you heard, I have a collection on suffrage. I care a lot about women's history. I was just doing a class on it this afternoon, but there are women in this book that I had never heard of and that I learned about. So it's really a wonderful selection. And I take it that some of them came as a surprise to you.
So first of all, one of the first women she said was, we have to have Pharaoh's daughter in the book. And I was like, Pharaoh's daughter? Was she even Jewish? I mean, and why would she be in the book? And she said, oh, she's one of the most important women in the Bible. We have to have her in the book. And so it turns out, by the way, she did convert to Judaism and married a Jew and then left Egypt with the Israelites. I didn't know anything about this. And she did turn out to be an amazing woman, but she was one of the women who helped save the Jewish people. And so that was one that I had never heard of. She also wanted, I didn't really know anything much about Henrietta Sold, although now it's like I should have because there's so many books about her. She really wanted Fanny Mendelssohn in the book. But Fanny Mendelssohn was, what's her brother's name? Was her brother, Felix Mendelssohn was her brother, and he was a famous musician. But Fanny was the more talented sister who wasn't allowed to publish her work, and she was very passionate about that. I think most of the other women I actually knew about, except for Roberta Peters. I'd never heard of Roberta Peters. Roberta Peters is an opera singer, and she's an opera singer that Justice Ginsburg adored growing up, and I think also must have met at one time. And so I learned all about Roberta Peters.
I'm still back on Pharaoh's daughter, and I'm thinking, when Pharaoh's daughter had to clean her kitchen and get all new dishes, was she thinking to herself, why did I start this? I'm not going to ask you if you had any favorites, because that wouldn't be fair, but I think you've given.
But I do.
Well, if you want to tell us one or two, we would love to hear it.
So I added a couple too, and these were new to her. I really was fascinated by Queen Salome Alexandra. So Queen Salome Alexandra, who was an actual queen of Israel. She was one of the last queens of Israel, last monarchs of Israel, and she actually laid the whole paved the path for rabbinic Judaism, which ended up leading to the kind of Jewish people continuing on beyond the borders of Israel. And I had never heard about her, and she was just an amazing woman. And she, so I included her, and I also included Gracia Mendinasi, who was a woman who I thought was so interesting. She was the wealthiest woman in the 16th century. She was a shipping magnate, and she also founded the first homeland in Israel for Jews, way before, Theodore Herzl got all the credit for it. So she was another one I just think was really interesting.
Great. All right. Yeah. Well, we're going to look forward to it. And I won't ask you to give it all away because we want people to come get a book for themselves. But I do want to ask more about what it was like as part of the writing process to have Justice Ginsburg as your kind of co-author and editor. And I've read some of her clerks who have talked about what it was like to work for her and how strict she was and how she paid attention in the good way, but she paid attention to every word. So what was it like writing for her?
Yes, so we started talking about this book in October, and by the time I really got it going was July, and July 15th. And actually, I had set aside 2 weeks with my friend Pam here to go. We rented a cabin in Virginia where I was going to really go focus on writing the book. And on July 15th,
Okay, what year?
this is 2020,
Right.
July. So it took a while because we had to
1 year.
decide all the women first. That was a long, long process. And we had to sell the book, and Random House had to get on board. It took a while. So, and I'm also very busy because, I run a magazine and we have so many different other projects going on. So I'd set aside these 2 weeks on July 15th. And so we drive out to this cabin and I get an email from Justice Ginsburg. Can I have the book today to read? And I was like, I hadn't started it yet. And so I wrote a very polite email and said, well, I'm almost done. How about 10 days? And she said, I'll give you 10 more days. So that was one of the least fun 10 days I've ever had. As Pam can attest, we had a great time together, but we were just working day and night. I was trying to get something down on paper. And then she said, okay, your time's up. I need it. So I sent it to her. Now, there's no such thing as writing. Even this is, it's a 248-page book. I couldn't write it in 10 days. So she then sent it back to me. She read every single word. She read and on every single page, she had 20 crossouts and notes. No, do not say that. I don't like that word. Use this word. I disagree with your point here. Have you thought this through? And the real answer was, no, I really hadn't had time to think it through, but I didn't say that. And my first, I think I told you this, I got back pages and pages and pages, which her assistant had very kindly scanned in all her handwritten notes and then texted to me and then emailed to me. And I printed them out and I began to cry because I just felt shame. I felt like, oh my gosh, I gave her this and she doesn't like what I've done. And it took me a little while, but I got over it. And I realized that it was really a great gift because in every comment, I learned so much about her. I learned about how she thought. I learned about what words she liked, even if I didn't agree with all her words. And I know she really prided herself on her writing. And she had a very clear idea of what words we should use. So there were a lot of word comments. I do not like that word. Try that word. She didn't say try that word. She said, use this word. So she read the entire first draft. I hadn't even realized she was going to read the entire draft because her job on this book was to select the women with me and then to write the introduction. And it wasn't, and then she didn't have time to write all these bios, although I think she would have really enjoyed doing the research and doing it. So I was doing that part. It never really crossed my mind that she was going to, edit all of that. So she did.
So you had this kind of correspondence back and forth, and then suddenly, again, 1 year ago, really at the week of her yahtzee, which Justice Ginsburg does on September 18th, and you have been in correspondence with her regularly, daily. What do you remember? Where she was, how she was feeling?
So I wasn't in correspondence with her daily. She would disappear, and then suddenly I would get a slew of emails really from her. So she also sent, a lot of them were all about the book and they were very professional, but she also wrote me little cards. And on one of them, she said, maybe that was in June or July. I think it was in the end of July or beginning of August. She said, it's really hard staving off cancer and getting ready for the term and doing everything I have to do. So there were personal notes in these. My impression from the emails that she sent me is that she wasn't expecting to go anywhere in the near future. She was very excited she was totally prepping for the term. I know Nina, other people are going to know more about this than I do, but she kept saying, I have to get ready for the term. We have to finish this book by August because I have to get ready for the term. That was so important to her to get ready for the term. She had to do her homework. And then I think that in August, we did an issue of moment where we asked this question, is the world getting better or are we regressing? And we asked her if she'd like to be interviewed for it. And she said she'd like to write something for it. So she actually wrote for it. I mean, this is in like August 7th or 8th or 9th or 10th or something, maybe August 15th. So she was very active. She was so alive and so involved in her mind. She wanted to kind of, so yes, I was pretty. So when I was away and I got saw that she had died, I was completely stunned, even though I knew she was there. So
The title of the book, as we see, is Brave and Brilliant. And your use of the word brave really strikes me, because we don't often think, not often enough, think of women as brave, courageous. We think of warriors, we think of fighters. These women were brave, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg was brave. And you said this week, writing about her, their humanity, you said, she said, Justice Ginsburg said, talking about the women in this book, their humanity and bravery sustained and encouraged her when her spirits made a difference.
that's where I got the word brave from that quote. Yeah. The real title of the book, well, the original title of the book that she knew about was, it was going to be, I think, RBG's Real Wonder Woman. But at the last minute, Random House lawyers actually contacted the editor, who then contacted me and said, I was waiting for this to happen, but they hadn't until 2 weeks before the book was going in print. What are you doing? So Real Wonder Woman came out. So then I had to make a new title, and I thought Brave and Brilliant as opposed to Brave and Humane.
Yeah. No disrespect to many of the people in this room, but the lawyers come along and spoil it every time.
I was like, really? Do you really think that, first of all, Marvel Comics does not own Real Wonder Woman, idea of Real Wonder Woman? But anyways, I lost that battle, and it was okay.
I like brave. I think it was wonderful for us to think of women being brave. Okay, my last question. Looking around this room, you're talking to people who read books, who buy books. What is the age? If I were thinking of buying this book as a gift, what age would I be thinking of? Young adults, girls,
So
grandma?
first of all, we decided this book should be for all genders. When we started this book, she was talking about girls and women. And then I actually gave an early copy, or I talked about it with my then 12-year-old nephew, who read an early draft and said, well, what about me? And so I went back to her and said, let's open it up. And she said, yes, let's open it up. So it's for all genders. And in terms of age, so it's 10 and up. It is for, really, I think of it as a book that a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle can read with a child, a 10-year-old. I certainly like the 10-year-olds that all of you were, like the precocious 10-year-olds who read all the books in their library. Yes, it's perfect for them. But I don't think it's for like every average 10-year-old. So that's why I think of it as intergenerational book. And I did not write the book down like for kids. In fact, Random House, really was pretty clear. They didn't want me to write it down, because in the beginning I tried one and it's like, this is more chatty for kids. And they're like, no. So I tried to find this tone where it's a serious book, but it's, I have to say, I learned so much from writing the book. So if I'm learning from writing the book, I think we all are going to learn from reading the book.
This is wonderful. All right, I think we have a few minutes for questions.
Hi, I'm Ellen, and I work at Moment. And I'll come over.
Or just maybe go up even, so you don't have to wind away.
For sure.
Dan, is that you? Can you go up there and do that so she doesn't have to catch everybody, snake that around? We're doing it this way just so everybody doesn't have to hold the same mic. Be extra careful. No, don't hold the mic. She's holding the mic. That's the plan.
Hi, I'm Dan. I work with Nadine at Moon.
Dan is a longtime journalist who covered politics for Hearst.
So I see that among the 33 are Betty Friedan, and Bella Abzug. So my question is, why not Gloria Steinem? Did she not make the cut?
Oh, it's the best question. So absolutely, and I need to email Gloria and explain this to her. Absolutely, absolutely that Justice Ginsburg told me we have many times we have to have Gloria in the book. And I said, that would be wonderful, but everybody else is dead in the book. And it's just, so the conversation kept coming back to, it's just awfully strange to have one woman who's alive and then the rest of them not being alive. So we decided it could be a future book where we would have women who were alive in the book. And by the way, the Betty Friedan thing is really interesting because that was the one woman we disagreed on. We didn't disagree on including her, but we disagreed on how important she was. And we had to work that out, which took a little while to work out. No, we can't. I think, well, did we win? Did I win? No. Basically, she felt she wanted Betty Friedan in the book, but she didn't like what I wrote about Betty Friedan because I thought Betty Friedan was more important than she thought Betty Friedan was. I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up with a mom who had feminine mystique on her bookshelf and whose life was the story of the feminine mystique. I had a career, gave it all up, moved to the suburbs, married, had 4 kids, and was stuck at home with them, but really wanted to be the president of everything and, you know, go back into the world. So Justice Ginsburg had a really different upbringing, and she had much more urban upbringing. She didn't really see the world in that same way. So I made her less important, a little bit less. I rephrased it all so that everyone could be happy. It took a while for the rephrasing to be figured out. How about that?
Next question.
She at the French embassy, she said to me, oh, okay. She said, oh, I love her, but she and Nancy Drew were my heroines. So I'm wondering if she wanted to include a fictional character.
Oh, what a great idea. Well, first of all, I have to say that Gertrude Berg was one of Justice Ginsburg's heartthrobs. She had a lot of heartthrobs. Theodore Bacall. I mean, there were lots of male heartthrobs, and there were non-Jewish ones and fictional ones. But in this particular book, the conversation that we were having at that moment in her chambers was about Jewish women, and that somehow meant a great deal. I mean, I would have loved to have done a book that included Frances Perkins and Polly Murray and all these other amazing women are out there. But I have to say, at that particular time in Justice Ginsburg's life, she seemed to be very interested in revisiting the Jewish women of her youth, the Jewish women who meant something to her. I think she had this long process of she'd never left being Jew, and she'd never left Judaism, but she had left patriarchal Judaism. And she spent her years sort of finding her place within the Jewish world. And and here she was, toward the end of her life, and this is what was animating her, and that's why that's in the book. But I would have, there's so many amazing women and we could have put in this book. But that was how do we have Gloria Steinem with, Miriam and Jochebed? It was just kind of, I had to somehow navigate to make a book that made sense. So that was that. She's mentioned Nancy Drew many times. And also Rebecca and Ivanhoe, but we also have the real Rebecca Gratz in the book. So
If we're gonna have,
okay.
well, we have one more question and then the book signing. Amy?
So this might be a waste of your final question, but I just have to ask if you remember what the kind of words were that Justice Ginsburg did not like using. I mean, that's so fascinating to me as an editor.
So she had, I don't remember them offhand at the moment, although she had a preference for like words like earned, like she had a preference for sort of slightly more legalized terms. I have not gone back to look at all I haven't been able to look at her emails to me, and haven't been able to look back at the manuscripts. I have it, and I can tell you that we can look and we can see, but I just haven't been able to look back. Like I was thinking about, oh, maybe I should tell you some of the other women she wanted to include. She kept emailing, but I just can't read her emails. I can't do that at this point, so maybe later.
Thank you. And
I want to, okay, yeah, so actually,
No, Nadine, thank you. This is all wonderful. You are going to sign books, right?
I am, but I want to say a couple of things first. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm sorry, I will use the microphone. That's why we have microphones today. Thank you, John, for bringing them.
There's food in the other room. Okay.
We will get to the food in a second. I just need to, first of all, thank so many people because there are a number of you here tonight and who really, really helped along the way with this book, which was never an easy project. It was a project that just came out of this conversation, and then we had to sort of make it happen. That's not always the best way to make a book happen. And then along the way, lost Justice Ginsburg. And so Anne, who helped so much, Pam, who helped so much, Pam Janice. I can't even recognize everybody in the mass here. I don't have my glasses on. All the way through John, my husband over there who's hiding, Gail Ross, Nina, who helped when I really need help, Aviva, who read the Gertrude Berg part for me. Is that John over there who held my, John, my assistant, who did so much. If I only could see, I just put my glasses on. So many people here really made a difference in making this book happen. So I just have to say this is, thank you so much. I also want to say that we're doing two things in her memory. She was a devoted reader of Moment and a supporter of Moment. And we have created a role model project in her memory, and it's going to start soon. And there's a flyer printout about it downstairs, but we will be working with, we'll be selecting role models who are not necessarily Jewish, a much more diverse group of role models to work with marginalized kids about, and helping kids develop role models, identify, select role models that are the right role models for them. We'll be working with, you know, it's a whole project, and it's something really important because these women are all Jewish, but they are so important. Every kid, whatever their background, needs to have really good role models. And she really cared, Justice Ginsburg cared about the concept of role model. Another thing that we're doing is that we renamed our, every year we have a gala. Our gala this year will be, the Moment Gala will be November 14th. We have renamed our Human Rights Award. She received our first Human Rights Award, and it turns out, well, we were going to give it to her in 2018. Many of you may be there, but we ended up giving it to her in 2019 in New York. And her family has agreed that we can rename it the Ruth Bader Ginsburg Human Rights Award. And we'll be giving that award out November 14th. And this year's honoree will be Jamie Raskin. So I thought this would be a really good year for Jamie. Really deserved something this year. And there'll be we have some other amazing honorees and other, I won't tell you that, but we'll hope you all can come and we'll tell you all about that. And then the last thing I just want to say, just because I have all of you here and because it's such an amazing story, is that we have this new issue just came out of Moment. We have issues for you down there in case you didn't get one in the mail. It's an inconvenient genocide. Tom Gelton, who's just retired from NPR, did this story. It's about the Uyghurs. It's a really important and beautifully done story, and I hope you all read it. We really need to think about the Uyghurs, and we really need to think about how to get the word about the Uyghurs out. Yes, you absolutely may have.
Thank you. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, Esther, for reminding us that there is food in the other room. And where are the books going to be?
Apparently, Jonna, you buy books there. I'm going to sit over there and sign the books. And
Excellent.
thank you so much again.
Food, books, signing. What more could anyone ask for? Thank you.